when I'm more unable to carry out my daily responsibilities, where I am quick to be short with people. And maybe that's where I need to notice and invite myself to look at what's going on in my life right now that's causing me these things that are going on to have an effect on my mental health, right? How I'm thinking, acting, and feeling. And is it that I feel like I'm working more? I feel like I've got more pressure on myself at this time of year. Am I putting pressure on myself to meet the demands of the holidays that are coming up, meet the demands of trying to keep up all the time? Right? And I have to also, first and foremost, we need to take care of ourselves in order to take care of others.
The opinions expressed in the following program are those of the producer and not necessarily those of WKTV Community Media.
Hello, West Michigan. This is Grand Tap Media Business TV. My name is Pamela Keim, your host. The spirit of the show is to introduce West Michigan to all the businesses, nonprofits, individuals that can help us thrive in our lives. And today we have a great guest today. She's been on my show before, but I wanted her back on because I believe that the culture is kind of, after about a month or so, things are getting a little bit dicey out there, and other people want to learn how to communicate better and maybe are dealing with the holidays coming and other situations that they see happening because of social media, that they're not able to handle it and they're getting more anxiety and stress. And plus in the workplace, you want to be able to interact. So we want to work on bringing people together as opposed to dividing people. So I want to welcome to the show Christy Buck. She is from the Mental Health Foundation of West Michigan and Be Nice, and she's been doing this for a long time, 36 years. So she is the best person to bring on my show and talk about mental health. Welcome to the show, Christy.
Thank you much. Awesome to be here.
I am so glad you'll be able to get out your busy schedule, because I know you're very busy because we do a lot of things together and you have a schedule even today. So I wanted to have you on the show to talk about what is going on with mental health and why are we not coping and what should we do? The holidays are coming and I feel like people are just clickbaiting too emotional. You know, they want to maybe even feed into their anxiety, which we can all fall into, and then we find ourselves in situations where people are able to cope with it more, and maybe they're on the same side as some of your what you agree with, and they're able to cope with it, and a lot of people are just absolutely falling apart today. And what are you seeing out there since everything has gone on, and what are people telling you? How can I better communicate without causing such conflict?
Well, I think the big thing right now is that it's a time of year also where we definitely see a rise in people having more anxiety, struggling more with potentially what could be depression. And that goes along with the light. It goes along with the time of year. So we need to be sensitive. And then on top of everything, we do have unrest that happens typically, and it does happen all the time around politics. So it's not just right now, this election, it oftentimes can happen in general. So one thing to be mindful of is when we are looking, if somebody is struggling or not, we're looking for behaviors or thoughts and feelings that might not be typical of that person. So we're looking at a time period of 2 weeks or longer. So now if we're gauging, yes, when potentially many things happened a couple weeks ago, now I'm looking, how is this person doing now, as opposed to 2 weeks ago? Is this person potentially missing work? Is this person not able to continue to carry out daily activities that they typically do? And then thirdly, are they able to engage in satisfying relationships? So those three things are often the marks of the changes that I can be looking for. And with that, moving forward to invite myself into a conversation with that individual.
Well, being in the mental health industry for 36 years, I've known you for a long time, and know about your Be Nice in the school system, because that was helping people deal with bullying, how to handle all that. But what do you see now? I see now differently than I did just 10 years ago when, let's just say the election, which is, you can't even bring that up without people having emotion. I would be able to say to somebody, I'm like, well, let's just see how this plays out. You know, if they have good ideas and it works, it's not like I don't want them to fail. And we're not seeing that where people are like, okay, You know, I may not agree with everything, but I'm behind success. I am behind, you know, getting things moving. And why do we take it so personally? Like that we just, as a person, we're failing if something like that didn't work out to what we wanted to happen. Are you seeing a difference when you did just 10 years ago?
Yeah, and what that is, it's directly related to, I'll just be honest with you, it's directly related to the iPhone. It is directly related to social media.
This having too much
It
information?
is. Yes. Too much information in our hands, too much on our own part of scrolling, too many choices in the world of social media sites, where I get my news, where I get my TV stations. All of these things, a culmination of many things that have entered into our lives because of that have brought about an increase in anxiety and an increase, therefore, in depression. Not being able to keep up, not being able to know what's going on, not being able to have a strong conversation with people because I'm not up on certain things. So there is a direct relationship to that and to our mental health right now and what's going on.
With the phone, and I do understand it's here to stay. And it has good and bad because it does suck up your time. But I do realize that some people are, you know, and I was into this a lot in 20. We all know what happened in 20. We don't need to go down that road. And that was my only source of information. But what I felt like as somebody I felt the anxiety. Everything was being taken away from me during that time. And I felt like everything was happening to my neighbor and me. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, but you nailed it.
Right.
You nailed it when you said that. You felt like the only thing that I had control was with my phone, with my device.
Right.
And that is now controlling us. So in turn, we have not moved beyond, now we're back, we're functioning, we're talking to people, we're in person with people, we're going back to the office.
Right.
It is dependence on that.
Yeah.
It is addicting. And we find that has increased people from not socializing with each other, isolation. It's increased the inability to have conversations with people face to face. A lot of the things that we're doing now are on our devices. So family time has decreased. Time with friends has decreased because now I have this other way of communicating. So something that helped us, like you said, right, in 2020, now has turned into something that has caused a type of addiction.
Addiction, and I do believe it's become addiction because you want to stay connected. Somehow we're tribal, and we want to make sure we know the latest thing that's going to happen so we can react. But with that anxiety, and it was stressful, very stressful.
Yeah.
Because you had to constantly be looking, right? I don't even want to know how many times I've clicked my, you know, the latest. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We're seeing that, and I find myself trying to keep it away. So what are you hearing from people out there when they're communicating? Christy, what do I do? What do I do to, you know, hobbies, how many hobbies that we are not doing?
Right.
And I noticed that even my neighborhood in the summer, not many people don't do their yard work. And that was the way I used to communicate. We lived in Granville, it was a great city. When you did yard work, you ended up talking to your neighbors and borrowing stuff. Can I borrow your wheelbarrow for a minute? I got to carry. I was constantly communicating. I will tell you, that's not the case today.
No.
Where people are. And I don't know the steps to get back. I know it starts with me, but I don't know what to do to make it better.
A lot of it is, one, would be to find a time during the day where you will be device free. I mean, that's a way to start, right? Even if it's going to be for an hour in the evening, where maybe I'm just going to sit with my significant other or a family member and we're going to dedicate that time to being device free. I mean, that's a start in the right direction. It is oftentimes we talk about finding out how much screen time. What is realistically,
what's normal?
What am I doing?
Can you tell us what
right?
normal is? Is it 2 hours? Is it 3 hours? What is it?
Well, normal is, 2 hours. I mean, but we're finding an average of 4 hours a day is what's happening.
Right.
So
it sucks your time.
even with kids, you know, you look at their time during the day when they're at school. Now, a lot of school districts are banning cell phone use during the school day. There's some resistance from parents feeling that I can't get a hold of my child during the day, which, like we always think, we didn't have that back when our kids were growing up.
Exactly.
So can we go there? What's so important that I can't get a hold of my son or daughter during that time? Practicing good habits at night. I mean, it is a known fact that just even having that electronic device near to my bed keeps me awake. So at 3 o'clock in the morning when I'm tossing and turning and I get up, I reach over to look at my phone. That immediately turns into more interrupted sleep. That's going to happen.
Right.
So, taking time to put the phone somewhere. I mean, I've started this in my own house where I'm not even going to have it in my bedroom. I mean, it's just not going to be there. I'm going to plug it in, charge it up for the night. It's downstairs.
Right.
Now, right now I'm on alert for a grandchild coming. So I will admit, last night it was next to my bed because
Right.
I'm on high alert right now. So
Well, that's an emergency, and
Yeah.
David and I, my husband David, we don't have it at the table
Yeah.
when we're having dinner.
That's good.
We make dinner time. We don't watch it on front of TV.
Yep.
We talk with each other, and that's I value that time
Yeah.
now. It's like we're going to have dinner, we're not going to have phone, and that night, it's a
Yeah.
toss up.
Right.
Of what you're going to be working on, because it does do your work, and you do want to respond to things so you don't wake up in the morning with 50 million emails. But I don't think that's a good excuse.
that's the real hard part.
Right.
You're
You're available all the time,
And
which is not a
I
good
know,
thing, right?
I know. And
You know?
that's what became real tough for us all during COVID, because suddenly we're available 24/7.
I know.
I mean, that's real tough, So if we can make a pledge to ourselves right now, and this is where the action plan, and you know about the action plan, notice,
Yeah, you're gonna
invite,
cheer about that,
challenge,
yes.
and empower, right?
Empower.
I am going to implement that action plan for myself.
Right.
I need to really focus on self-care for myself right now and notice within myself when my behaviors are changing, when I'm more unable to carry out my daily responsibilities, where I am quick to be short with people. And maybe that's where I need to notice and invite myself to look at what's going on in my life right now that's causing me these things that are going on to have an effect on my mental health, right? How I'm
Right.
thinking, acting, and feeling. And is it that I feel like I'm working more? I feel like I've got more pressure on myself at this time of year. Am I putting pressure on myself to meet the demands of the holidays that are coming up, meet the demands of trying to keep up all the time?
Right.
Right? And I have to also, first and foremost, we need to take care of ourselves in order to take care of others. So this is a big time of year where we all should be stopping and taking care of ourselves.
Okay, so share a little bit about what you are, Mental Health Foundation is doing and going into the schools
Yep.
and ever. And I know you have your book here that has been super helpful
Yeah,
to
quick
people to
read.
understand what the mission of Be Nice
Yep.
is. Because it's just not be nice.
No.
It's like, because everybody's tired. I'm tired of being nice.
Yeah.
I want to be not assertive, but I just want to have boundaries. Right? And people don't know how to make those boundaries.
Right.
It's like, well, I don't want to be, people don't like me, and especially in the schools. I want to be liked, and if I don't do everything, and we've had peer pressure, but I don't think we have it as extent where kids are watching other kids on social media going to events and parties, and they're not included in. I couldn't even imagine growing up under this kind of pressure, because now you really see. If you're on vacation with your mom and dad and your friends are out at the beach and they're all having fun, you're like, you can't have fun with your mom and dad because, I wanted to go to, do you understand? You want to go to the beach.
Yeah.
Be with your friends. Okay, so share a little bit what the Michigan Health Foundation is doing, and then let's talk about your book and what you're doing helping schools and businesses.
Yeah. So Be Nice was created in 2014.
Yeah.
And it was following the death by suicide of a young man who was cyberbullied by his college roommate. So what happened then, there was a national conversation about being kind, about be nice. So with the program, the intention was to have an understanding that how we treat individuals has an effect on a person's thoughts, their actions, and their feelings. And that's your mental health. So in every interaction that I have with anybody, I need to know that the lasting effect is how I treated that individual has an effect on their mental health. If I can live that, then maybe when I go into conversations, when I have a confrontation with the AT&T person on the phone, maybe I can back off a little bit and have a knowledge that my interactions today are going to have an effect on their mental health. And then going further then with the action plan is this micro piece of it. And that is recognizing within individuals the good, the right about them, And then most of all, if I know the good, the right, then I can also notice differences in that person. And when I begin to notice differences in that person's mental health, maybe it's their concentration, maybe they're sad, maybe they're crying more often, maybe they're isolated themselves, maybe they're spending more time on social media, which is not like them.
Right.
So when those typical behaviors are being noticed, then I'm going to reach out and I'm going to invite myself into a conversation with that individual. I'm going to start with the good, the right. What I know about you is typically you're on time for a meeting, or typically when we come into a meeting together, you're prepared, or typically when you come into class, you're ready to answer a question. What I've noticed is you're not raising your hand as often, or you're not speaking up in a meeting as often. What's going on? Can I help you with something? So the N and the I leads me into that challenge, understanding and maybe having these really good conversations with an individual. Because what we know is when something is brought to the surface, it doesn't close doors, it could potentially open doors to allow that person potentially maybe to get help, know where there's treatment options. Maybe it's just a good old-fashioned, I want to start to exercise again. Okay, well then you know what? We're going to make it part of our daily routine to go for a walk together. So this morning at work, we had a lot going on over the weekend. We have meetings all day Monday. It's a real strain. And suddenly, right after the meeting was done, 5 employees got up and they went for a power walk.
Wow.
That was great.
I know walking is great
It's
exercise.
really,
And it's good to
really good.
You know, you socialize, you get fresh air, all the good things.
No devices. So that's the action plan. And so
Okay.
we are in school districts throughout west and east side of Michigan.
Okay.
We've got a couple schools up in the UP. We also have schools that are on board in Texas and in addition New Jersey.
Nice.
So then we also have a Be Nice Business program. So with Be Nice Business, the program is implemented typically through wellness programs within a company. So we know that over the past 4 years, employers have created wellness opportunities for their staff. One way with mental health wellness is to implement a program where employers are going to feel comfortable about talking about mental health, mental wellness, reducing the stigma. This is Men's Mental Health Month, November.
It is?
Can we talk more about mental health?
Yes, I think it is
Can
really
we?
happening.
We should.
We should. Well, they're not allowed, well, I would say that that's not the norm. Men do not like to talk about it.
No.
They like to do things and relieve stress, but they don't really want to talk about, you know, my marriage hasn't been so great.
It's
you know, one of my kids
big
are
stuff.
falling off the rails, you understand. They don't talk about that stuff.
No.
They stick to, you know, because they don't want to be seen as weak.
So that is what research has shown us, that stigma is very high amongst men. And we also know that the suicide rate is higher amongst men than women. So if we can begin conversations, if businesses had a mental health program within their wellness department,
Right.
Be Nice would be a choice, brings up easier conversations with individuals. Yeah, we can joke about it. Oh yeah, we're going to be nice today. But when people are trained, research has shown within the companies that we are in that there's higher rates of individuals accessing, an example would be an employee assistance program. So we have research, we know that the data is there, that it is showing when a mental health program is implemented in a company, there are higher rates of people going out and seeking and accessing resources that are available.
So men are taking advantage of
Yes.
being able to you know, to
Men-
be able to
yes.
trust. They need to trust somebody that's not going to share out, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And they don't want to be sitting, I went to a shrink, sorry, a doctor, but they'd rather just, you know, maybe, you know, have that conversation on a golf course. They're really good at, I know this with men that I hang around with, when you're doing something fun,
Yeah.
they may let their guard down
Mm-hmm.
and then slowly start sharing in, but they want to see how, you know, they
Yeah.
have to build that trust. And I
Yep.
think us women can get together and just start the conversation.
Yeah.
And they're
So
like,
we have a
"Oh."
golf outing every year, and it is interesting because a lot of times that's where those good conversations can happen. And what I love about our golf outing is, this is our 6th year, is the retention is amazing. People are coming back. and there's ease about talking about mental health.
Right.
Our golfers at our golf outings know what they are raising money for, and they consistently come back and they're looking forward to getting updates on what else is happening. So what's flipping around now too is a lot of these folks are bringing their businesses on board. So it's not just participating in the golf outing, but now it's sinking in, and beyond the 4 golfers that are in the scramble, it's bringing their companies on board.
Well, I love golf, and I do think there's a difference in saying this is a season. Maybe you're trying to find a different position. Maybe you just got out of college and you're dealing with all your friends, right, getting jobs, and you haven't been able to find. I see that a lot.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they fall into this rabbit hole, and I'm just like, what do you mean you haven't really seriously looked for 6 months? And they don't know what they get frozen.
Right.
Have you seen that with people? They're just frozen, and I'm like, you have to take an action, because you're never going to get out of this. It just gets, and that's what
And
I've
a lot
seen.
of it is, what can I do to help you?
Right.
Take action.
Right.
And it's pointing in the direction. And there are so many resources out there that a phone call maybe to a friend to say, hey, what do you know? What do you have in line? We're, these young folks or whomever just graduated from college, where can they get some help and assistance to help them make that first move into a job?
Right.
So it's utilizing the people that we know. I mean, you're a very involved citizen. I'll just say this about
thank you.
And you churn the pot, man. You get people talking about things. And I think where there's a wealth of information out there. You know what I mean?
Right. And I always just tell people, maybe just go out with them with a cup of coffee.
Yes.
Go
and that's
meet in a very
always a
short
start.
meeting, meet and greet, because he's going to be on guard.
Yep.
He's like, oh God. And it's usually the parents have done everything, and they're not moving without getting really, you know what I mean, losing their cool.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, well, let's just get an outsider that's not that emotionally involved.
Yeah.
And say, what do you, what's the problem here?
Yeah.
What are you looking for? What is it that you're, and maybe it could be they went into the wrong degree and they just realized it. That's not a bad place to be. You have a great degree. It wouldn't take you much to go on to something else. But that's what I always tell people. Maybe you could just take them out to coffee and just have that conversation.
Oftentimes, if you have an employer that has an employee assistance program, that is a benefit that also is available for your children. So if you have, while your children are still on your insurance, oftentimes until they're 26 years old, they potentially could access that EAP for 6 sessions. You can't believe what a difference it can make just to get you through this hump of finding that path. So, good people to talk to often are a great starting point.
All right, so let's look at your book here.
Yep.
Now, if they hold it up there for my audience to see. Grab it up. Pull it up.
Yeah.
Okay, so getting this book, and maybe it's a great book to put on the coffee table to start the conversation, bringing it to school. I think it's good to have in doctor's offices to be able to do that. Okay, so if I was like, I know somebody that's struggling, I know a family that could use a little, what could they get from Be Nice, just when they're starting to read it?
You got it.
Just that, how to have the conversation, what steps to start taking, what to look for, because it is. I've heard a lot, I would sadly say I've heard a lot about suicides lately, which is quite scary. And it is a lot more men that I'm hearing this from, young men even, that just get lost. But if I was looking at that, I'm like, okay, I don't know how to even start the conversation with my wife or whatever that might be. I know somebody that won't even leave their bedroom. They're just totally demoralized. I'm shocked. This person. And it's just like, I don't even know how to have the conversation. And, but you would. So getting that book would be a good step? Or
I mean, the idea behind the book is that anybody can have the conversation. And so
gives you the tools on how to start that conversation.
It's extremely simple reading. It goes through the action plan. It then really dissects what it is to be that person that's going to notice. And, like I said, there's 3 simple things that I can measure in somebody's behavior to give me that clue and warning that something bigger is going on. So the big things are a change in their work or going to school, a change in how they carry out their daily activities, and then also that engagement in satisfying relationships. And if I can put those pieces together, and then the big thing is look for the risk factors. Are they presenting risk factors in their life right now that would make them more vulnerable to enter into anxiety or depression. Those risk factors are moving to a new school, moving to a new job, a death of a family member, an illness in the family, being bullied, being harassed. That could be in work or in school.
Right.
LGBTQ, they are at higher risk. Why? Because people don't reach out to want to let them know that there's help available. Those risk factors, when those are present, and then along with changes in people's behaviors, I want to move in and notice and let that person know what I've seen.
That's what I do too. And I wanted, that's why I wanted to have you on the show. And what people are experiencing right now could just be seasonal. Could be the weather,
Yes,
like you
it
mentioned
can
right off
be.
the bat, or just, it's the holidays, the anxiety, trying to do that, or their own expectation of where they should be when they relook at their life in the last year, which we all can fall into. All right, so Christy, where can I get more help, and how can they reach
Well,
you?
for one, benice.org. Go onto our website. If you want more information, you go to info@benice.org. You can go onto the website. And you can write and pick up a book at the Mental Health Foundation of West Michigan. We're located in the Special Olympics of Michigan building. We moved our headquarters, so we're right around the corner from here. But I encourage people right now with those risk factors that I mentioned, I'll tell you, be nice and make that reach out. Make a phone call to somebody that's just lost a loved one. That could be the first holiday that they are entering into without a family member. I wrote 3 notes today to some folks. Make that a point for yourself. Instead of a Christmas present or a holiday present, make the phone call, write them a personal note.
And I always say to people when you go to party, go in and be a light, as opposed to, confronting. So we all can have our differences, but what it comes down to, family is so important in people's lives. They don't even realize it.
It's big.
All right. I want to thank Christy Buck for being here today.
Great to be here. I love it.
All right. This is Pamela Kine from Grand Tap Media. We will catch you next time. Take care, everyone.